morning, Sri, and welcome viewers. Welcome to yet another episode of Outbound with Highperformr. This is Sri and Ramesh talking with yet another episode. So, what do we have today, Sri?
Interesting things, Ramesh. But before we get to what we're going to talk in detail today, how was your weekend? What did you do? Don't tell me yet another IPL match, but how was your
It's
weekend?
the season, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's the season. We'll see how Chennai is even getting somewhere close. A lot of reading that happened.
Okay.
Meeting a lot of founders. This is the week of SAS Bhumi here, so a lot of founders across India are here. So we met quite a few of them, and it felt terrific. Obviously, it was lovely meeting Girish as well on his new book, All In. So congratulations, Girish, if you're watching this. That was really great to see some phenomenal stuff. Book launches are hard. Writing a book is hard, but here's a man who's done that, who's taken the time to do it as well.
I mean, that's an interesting part of the thing. But I want to just take a cue on the. I mean, this happened last week, right? We met a lot of founders specifically last whole week. Because of SAS Bhumi, has bought a lot of founders in Chennai. Right?
Yep.
So now, meaning, I could see basically one aspect. Of course, they're all excited when you meet the peer founders. But this time in SAS Bhumi, at least, kind of getting to people meet after SAS Bhumi, before and after that, I could see a fear, right, in everybody's mind. A good and a bad thing, right? But let's talk about that.
It's the AI. It's the weather. It's the AI weather. It's the climatic conditions have changed in software.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. A lot of them are talking about what's next in AI, right? As a product manager, how do I think? As a business head, how do I think? As a CEO, how am I supposed to take care of the roadmap? And it's very true. So I think let's talk about that in our own space very quickly. Sri, 2024 to 2025, we've entered this one and a half years of building Highperformr.
Yeah.
How have you seen AI? Right? We used a lot of AI for marketing purposes, a lot to write our pages and all of that, but that's just one piece of it. Can we just concentrate and talk about how have you looked at using AI in our product development and engineering? The view is because I asked this question to Sri because the other day at an instant he made a call. I was seated right opposite him and he told all the developers, hey, 6 of you, if you're not using cursor, you're not going to be coding. So what went behind the thought? It was all of a sudden that came in. I know you've nudged them earlier, but what was that call to stop them from using?
Ramesh, if you see, there's an evolution happening, right? See, it might make you feel that the underlying mechanics itself is broken, but I think I strongly believe that this is how the AI is evolving, but it's evolving very fast. So it makes you feel that the mechanics are broken. For example, I'll give an example, right? If you remember, 2 years back, I think we started using AI when we started writing the long form blogs for,
the growth store.
The growth store, right? It was very deep research. In fact, we had the understanding about the market. Ramesh had deep understanding about growing a specific vertical within a SaaS and things like that. When we started writing content, at that time, AI enabled you to basically write. It was a co-pilot. If you remember that, right? It was more of a co-pilot, and we were one of the the early folks, right, who basically started using it extensively, and you saw the result. You had long form content.
Of course,
people read it, they enjoyed it. So that is where it started. But if you just fast forward today, AI is not just a co-pilot. AI is able to solve for few deep problems. Of course, it is becoming a super a tool, not just a co-pilot. What it means is that every aspect of product development, right from content writing to web copy to, being able to write a product description for your developers or the developer asking questions, it is becoming a super tool to the extent where I tell all my team members, right, whether it's an engineer or product manager, use any of your preferred, a tool of AI, a co-pilot, and then you should come talk to the founders.
Fair enough.
As a rule of thumb.
I want to go back to asking, what was that particular? Were you reading any article, or what was it that you suddenly called them and said, "Hey, if you're not using cursor, we're going to stop writing code"? What went behind? What was the thought?
There's a rationale. I mean, again, Ramesh, right? If you just go back in time, 10, 12 years back, building product was the most difficult thing.
Right.
And if you are a GTM person who's been there, done that before, figuring out GTM was relatively easier. This is, I'm talking about 10 to 15 years back.
Right.
I've been the founder myself. You've been part of the early stage company, seen the growth come through. building product was always considered very, very hard, right?
Okay.
And if we have people who know GTM, been there, done that, they could figure out GTM relatively. But in the last 12 months, it has flipped. 12 to 24 months, it has flipped. Building product is relatively easy. I'm not undermining building products, but it has become easier because there are enough tools which can get you an MVP, it can give you a product which you can put in front of customers within 24 hours. Correct? Now, as a product team, we cannot be building product in a conventional way.
Okay.
You have no choice but to use the tool which will help you go faster. But still, you need to have a developer mind to make it work consistently. You need to make it be able to work on productivity, right? What it means is that the entire, the 80-20 rule has flipped now. What I mean by that, we used to always say, if you're building product, you should finish your 80% time in the 20% of the time, the 80% work on 20% time, but still the remaining 20% will take 80% of the time to get to production.
Okay.
Now that cycle has gotten down. Now 80% of the work could be done in an hour or so. Now you better focus on 20% time to get into production.
So what are you optimize? So what I hear is there are two pieces to it as well.
Correct.
One is optimizing for time of hitting the product in the market.
Correct.
But what about the psychological mindset of developers when they write code to perfection, right? I've always heard this, great engineers just don't write code, they perfect it. You have the right tabs.
Correct.
Doesn't this remove the psychology of being passionate when you're using an AI software? Like, did you even think about it before asking them to go over it? And how did you optimize for it?
I will tell you, Ramesh, in fact, it's just in our mind, right? See, always smart engineers always use tools. The best of engineers I've seen, I've been an engineer myself.
Okay.
I always want to automate the work I've been doing manually. That's the way, an engineer, a good engineer always would want to see his life. They would always write tools. If you go look at an engineer, if you go look at the laptop or his own, the workstation, they will have few hundred tools which they use on a regular basis. That's how engineers have been evolved. So AI is making it easier. It's giving a package of tools for you, right? I think, by the way, right, every engineer used to go do Google to get some reference of design patterns to figure it out. It is not like, they're going to write like a poetry. I mean, that's not the way, programming works. They want to find out what works for people. They want to improvise on it, and then they're going to adapt to their use case. Like what used to take 80% of the time now can be done with an AI, tool. So they're going to use it. In fact, smart engineers are even more interested in using a tool because they always wanted a tool to make them more productive, right? And every engineer wanted to spend less time doing coding, getting into production, and spend some time in their hobbies. So this is all coming together very well. I would say smart engineers are loving it, and they're just doing more than what they would do. They're doing more with less, right? But Ramesh, if you just go back to the most important aspect is that whether you like it or not like it, building product is easier, right? So having to have, let's say, 25 people to build a product is not required. We need to learn to build products in about 2 to 3 people. Right.
So I think what Sri is saying is use AI to obviously optimize for time. And as a CEO, a product manager himself, a product developer, engineer himself, hey, it's even better and passionate if you are able to write code faster as a developer and you have the mindset to trash it when needed as well.
Of course.
Am I hearing that straight?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So only then you are a passionate engineer. It's not you live with the code that you wrote some time back, right? Is that what you're getting to?
That's very true. In fact, for example, if you look at any product, right? Any product which has been there for 10 years, they would have rewritten it twice, thrice, right? If not more. Today, you might maybe rewrite 5 times. In fact, that's the fear. In fact, if you just go back and connect this with the early on conversation we had, the fear is in a lot of these incumbent, companies who would, have resistance to rewrite, right? You need to rewrite the product, right? Since there is a monolith way of doing it, where I should have a product manager who basically does the job of going to 100 people, talking to to actually figure out what is required, then translate into a PRD, then you go through a development cycle. I don't think any company could. I think any company can afford to do it right now, right?
Uncertainty in AI, right? That's the topic we're talking about. If you want to have lesser uncertainty in this new age of AI,
yes,
be certain to use AI. Right? I think that's one clear message that we don't know. Some things are out of our control. Let's keep that at bay. But what is certain is get your code to production. Yes. Get your product to production fast. And market is an observer of whether your product is certain or uncertain rather than keeping the AI piece of it certain. Is that right in some sense?
That's right. In fact, it is I think one thing, very important thing is that whether it's quality versus hype. So we need to figure out definitely the bar for quality should still be high. You cannot basically use any tool. It could be AI tool or non-AI tool. We had IDs in the past, etc. Different things, right? But the quality and the hype you have to differentiate. Right?
Okay.
You cannot. The only solution is that keep the bar high, right? Use different tools. See if you can go to the market faster, because distribution is harder than what you think.
Absolutely. That brings me to the second point. Right. The first one is what's not in our control is the uncertainty of AI. But what is certain is please use AI tools in ever, especially in engineering. That is certain to get you one level higher than where you are. It's coming to the second point. He mentioned distribution over here.
Correct.
I think what is uncertain again in this new age of AI is how certain motions of distribution are getting killed by AI. I'm not talking about teams and I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about the distribution strategy. And I think Sri and I have very passionately debate this often. I'm coming there, Sri. The example is the AI SDR in itself. Right? See, I told you, look at his body. He sprung upon, right? So how AI SDR as a motion, it's an art. The art of calling, the art of having a conversation starter, the art of closing, which means not the deal, but to a next, next call with the prospect. It's all an art.
Correct.
And with the advent of AI SDR, things are getting killed. Email obviously has gone to such a large extent that people are saying email is dead. Calling, if that is also dead or coming to the point of this is an AI SDR, just pan the phone down, you're always looking at suspicion. So hey, this call is an AI SDR, let me just block it, right? So that in itself. So you're already shooting down two critical distribution channels of sales, specifically in an outbound motion. So what else? How else do you think should we be looking at this uncertainty?
Correct. So, Ramesh, again, right? See, the inbound is getting harder, right?
That's expensive as well.
It's very expensive. Not everybody is going there scouting for your products of interest anymore, right? So most of the companies, that's also another theme I at least learned. We are seeing it ourselves, but it was basically very clear that every founder or the GTM leader we met in the last 10 days, all of them are saying that inbound is slowly reducing because either they couldn't afford to spend the money, or they're seeing organic traffic coming down. Having this scenario, right? What happens that everybody is doubling down on a particular way of doing GTM, which is outbound.
Correct.
And the old practice, the old best practice was to basically, if you want to scale outbound, you add more sales sequences.
Yeah. More sales
you
people.
Send more emails.
Yeah.
Now, we just took that literally. We used a tool like ASDR, where you are maybe spending 10 emails, you start sending 100 emails, you get the result, you start sending few thousand emails.
10,000s of them. Yeah.
Now, in essence, what has happened is that the underlying mechanics is basically broken. Imagine a digital buyer. This is what we have seen, right? Where if you are a digital buyer, right, where you maybe used to get 10 emails per day, now you're getting 100 emails.
Correct.
Now, what is this? This is a place where AI is breaking the underlying mechanics, where what used to be at least reasonably working outbound emailing is now completely broken because nobody's even bothered to open the email. And on top of it, the new, I would say, the email rules is filtering all them out as spam.
Yep.
Now, the net is that we used AI, we overused AI. Now you basically.
But it's just the beginning, Sri.
Correct.
Right? It's just the beginning.
Right.
How are we going to get something that has already been working, half killed, and then what's going to be the next wave of outbound, right? That's a question. That's the uncertainty that we're always talking about. Right?
The point is outbound is not dead. It is getting harder, right? So instead of spraying and praying, you need to start doing spear fishing.
Correct.
Right? That's the way its whole thing is going to pan out.
Absolutely.
So what it means is that instead of you basically spamming with emails, right, to everybody, you need to find alternate ways where people are actually actively showcasing interest. Right? You should go to maybe LinkedIn and find out, the VP of marketing talking about the CRM migration product or the CRM migration, the project. Or you should go maybe to Slack groups and find out discussions where they're implementing a new, let's say, stack in the marketing or replacing a particular stack, or they're discussing about, on the Reddit, where they're actually discussing about a
I had
particular
a
use case.
very
right?
interesting question asked by one of our prospects yesterday
Hmm.
over the weekend. And he was like, hey, I know AI can do everything. So at Highperformr, will you be able to get us people talking about how dissatisfied they are with
Okay.
our competitors? Now, it took me back a second, and I always thought these were the leads that were very easy to find. It's not going to come daily, but those who come, they're going to be dissatisfied and they'll come to you. But in this new world of AI, what is being certain in this uncertainty of AI, what is really certain is you have the capabilities, products have the capability to go to that extent to go and find such voices which were impossible to do back in the day. Right? And to your point, spearfishing them is far more easier or it's far more efficient than spraying and
Correct.
praying.
I'll give you another example. It's a very surprising factor, right? Where when we started doing as part of Highperformr, of course, I'll give you an example of what we built. Is that we built a waterfall for email investment, right? We in fact have seen pushback from a lot of our customers because of the habit where they would wanted to optimize for the fill rate of email, which
What
means
does
that
fill rate mean?
if I give you 100 emails, if you basically have a list of contacts you want to prospect for
Okay.
100 contacts, we are used to giving you at least 80% of the email filled.
Okay.
Whether it is correct or wrong is not the point. These
Approximately there.
These systems have built, the so-called, the finders for email, which will fill with email, which is not necessarily correct. But the moment we flipped the whole thing and said, "Was we will not do that, but we will give you emails with lowest of the bounce rate."
So you're optimizing now for lower bounce
Correct.
rates.
What we are saying is that send emails which doesn't bounce, so that the email system don't penalize you. They don't penalize your domain.
That's a good.
So over a period of time, 3-6 months or 1 year, your domain rating is better, so that your emails are actually kind of landing the inbound.
So you see, I think I like how you're thinking, Sri. You're talking about saying at the larger scale, if you want to make certain things certain, if you want to spearfish, optimize for those 1% things that will together over a period of time get to better outreach models.
Correct. But what has happened in the last 24 months, 36 months, that the way we've been approaching this outbound for things that, hey, get me all the emails you could get, whether it is correct or wrong, and I don't really care. I will put in a system which will send a few hundred emails. Isn't it
hard communicating this to the customer? Saying, hey, I will help you optimize for bounce rates rather than fill rates, because everyone wants scale.
No, but there's no other alternate now, because when they go on the other side, they're not seeing zero results, right? We know customers who've been running ASDR for 6 months. There are a few of them who've been doing email marketing, spending few $100,000.
That's true.
Right? Have seen no pipeline build. But a single kind of execution with a data set from, which is AI powered, removes all the unnecessary emails and gives you one, you can see result. Correct. Will change. See, in fact, the customers are moving away from sending blank, outbound email to finding VP of sales who just liked, a particular post about scaling outbound, right? From a startup CEO who just actually posted about, being able to switch from another CRM to a new one.
Yeah.
These are the new signals which is going to help them do the outbound in the right way, right? So it is not just that, the outbound is dead, but I think it's going to get harder. It's going to evolve. It's going to take a different direction. And we might probably have to stop unlearning the old habits of sending a, outbound email blindly, right? We have to do research, use AI to do the research, use the AI in the right way. I think we should stop using the AI for sending scaling of emails. I mean, that is not a problem.
Another third interesting point is usually when you think AI, you think that you can do things at scale. The fact of the matter remains that AI helps you optimize for time, not for scaling, but to get more precision.
Absolutely.
Right. Try and see, hey, what does this client want? What should be the right messaging there? Spend time there. Bring AI into efficiency there.
Correct.
Rather than spraying and praying, get more emails, send more emails.
I'll give you another example, Ramesh. We've been using one of the most popular, AI, the parallel dialers, right? We signed up, it's a huge contract for a startup like us, right? We paid them 10K. But we initially thought they could help us scale, but what they do is that, I think you and I also tried it, right? Yep. They of course, they have a fantastic job in dialing 100 people in let's say 2 minutes. But if they get a connect, I have no context about what to speak. In fact, I myself have tried the tool myself. Ramesh, I put you on the same thing as well, right? They put you on a flash, but you don't know what to talk.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the way it works. they do solve the problem of dialing, but the dialing was never a problem for me. My problem was always that what was my pitch? How do I get that maybe that the 15 seconds conversation with the ICP, target ICP, with the right message? If that is not done properly, it doesn't matter how much maybe efficient I am in terms of being able to call parallelly 100 people, or
Very true.
even having few thousand people call there. It's the same problem, right? We are using AI for solving for the wrong problems, which we should not optimize for.
Absolutely. I think
Right.
to a point of execution, right? At the grassroots level, we should think about how will, at a high level, AI is uncertain, is fine, but how can we leverage AI at an HDR level who's outbounding to make them super productive? Research, right? Do research. How can we get it on the computer screen of the SDR to say what to speak to this person if I get connected?
Correct.
Lies the magic.
Correct. Because you cannot, I don't think we are in AI is a stage where which could replace the mind of an salesperson, marketing person, right? But it could help them get to the point, the point where the salesperson or the marketing person will have the context. What I mean is that, hey, instead of me basically having to dial 100 people and have at least 10 people to speak to you right now without knowing what to speak.
Correct.
Right. So I think the better place to start, at least today. I don't know what will happen in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now, right? But as of today, the best place to put AI into works is to do the research on the companies, identify, the people, who are actually exhibiting some interest, or at least some behavior of your typical buyer, and then you let the creativity of the sales and marketing
that anyways,
because that is where the whole AISDR is really, not seeing the right direction. So, we've seen stories there, but that is where the problem is.
Absolutely. Right? So, two key takeaways in this whole world of uncertainty of AI: founders, operators, people on the field. Yes, there is a lot of uncertainty in how things are going to evolve in an AI world, and we are just getting started. But instead of having that at the back of your head and pushing you down the chair or on your shoulders and not knowing how to move forward, let's make sure that there are two things that are very certain from an engineering and sales and marketing point of view.
Correct.
That's what we discussed today. Use AI for coding. Don't be passionate about the code, but be passionate about coding faster and getting products to win. That's going to help you win. And as far as AI is concerned in sales and marketing, you don't have to do more with more using AI. Do less with less in an AI world, right? Get to what it's needed. Do more research. It allows for that, which you never got a chance to do earlier, right?
That's pretty much.
Cool.
Right.
With that, this is the end of yet another episode of Outbound with Highperformr. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys. See you.